Hey everybody, my name is Rydo and we're back to Obduction. Now, it's very rare that I go back to a game I've already covered. I played Obduction all the way through, you've seen it, you've heard my final thoughts, you've seen the credits, all of that. But there's a little bit of hype here. Obduction is the newest game so far, made by Cyan, the creators of the Myst series, and they have updated it. And they said that there was new content in it. And so, because there's new content, and because I've already played the game and have a save file that will hopefully allow me to run around there, this 1.7.0 with this build number at the end version, I think has new content. Now, we may find out it actually doesn't because of a simple fact that I was playing the game on the beta, and the new content, the secret areas, may very well have been in the beta. We are at the save file that is right at the end of the game. I guess there's not too much spoilers there. We'll see if some of the bugs we ran into happens. First thing I will fully admit, and I imagine a decent number of people will have this experience, is it's a little weird to go back to a game you've already beaten it, but going from the beta to this point is also a little strange. I have to find the buttons to figure out which way there is to run, because the graphic settings were completely messed up. Like the game was totally flipping out with green bars scrolling left and right in such a way that it made it impossible for me to even see the screen, let alone adjust the settings. The only thing I could find that would work to improve it in just a quick attempt was to simply have the game set in borderless window mode, which I prefer exclusive full screen, but I'm not sure there's any scientific, realistic reason to believe that that is better. So we're playing a meta game here. I doubt that there's actually going to be a hidden... Well, there may very well be hidden sections, but I doubt there's going to be a completely different area that's just obvious. If I was to believe that there would have been another area added, you would have thought it would have hit right in the walls. For all I know, it could be a tiny, slight change. Is this supposed to look like that? I guess it is. Or it might just be stuff that I didn't. On top of them announcing that, Cyan announcing that they have gotten their rights back from, I believe, EA for Myst 3 and Myst 4 and Myst 5 may also have been under someone else's control. They've got the license back. They're gonna really release everything, make a nice box set. They've announced yet another game, which is really awkward, I would say. I kind of wish I could jump, because this new game, which is called Firmament, Firmament being the dirt, honestly, this game could have been called Firmament, for as much dirt as we see. With the re-release of the beloved Myst series, Firmament has to walk a narrow tightrope. It has to both... There's one of the Miller brothers right there. The Miller brothers being the people that own and run Cyan. Firmament can't be terrible. it actually has to be, I would say, at least one major step up above what Obduction was. Because Obduction, despite it being a fine game, and it would have been a fine first release for a newly established company, Obduction did kind of lean too heavily on doing things that had already been done in Myst, so that is an element that they really can't do again. And they need to improve everything. See, and we'd already seen this Myst Easter egg room, so unless this was in the maybe this is new, a floating world. Can we activate? I need a zoom in button. Yeah, unless we find something like a Myst linking book that makes more sense. This might be the only place that actually has any new content. Some of this certainly seems different. I felt like the story was a little too simplistic. Let's see. And there was really no end. Like, in the end, there really wasn't a bad guy. So you just have this computer inside the Myst book as it was before. Ark of the Covenant. Jokes. Like, some of this stuff does look different. And maybe I'm hearing some slight differences. But if that's all they had was this one hidden section, it's a pretty disappointing thing. Yeah, Firmament, though, has to be better than this game by at least one step up. And it can't go too crazy and be too good, otherwise the Myst re-releases will start showing their... Wow, that is zoomed in rather large. They'd start showing some problems, because Myst is a very old game. It's running into, I believe, 25 years now, and that still can't knock these guys around. That is, even with a remaster, going to be problematic with the Myst releases, particularly for Myst 3, 4, and 5, which don't even have as much love for them as Myst 1 and 2 does. Those will pale and look very bad by comparison. Well, did they ever fix that lag? Seems like they finally got... Nope, it's still there. Their engine still needs work. Clearly. We can do all of this and get up higher. And I'm running and I'm running and I'm running. Now there's 3 other locations that are smaller places where there might be something hidden. Or it might just be that it's hidden so well that I'm missing it. Like, if I was to take this transversal node to the gauntlet, I seriously don't want to spend the energy doing the gauntlet. Like, that does not strike me as something that would be fun. However, on the other hand, this, I believe, is the only way to get to one of the locations. Short of the tree. And I'd prefer to take the tree. That makes more sense. Myst as a game where you just walked around and only sort of talked to people by getting pre-recorded messages was fine for its time. However, nowadays it's suffering for just a lack of the basic gameplay elements that you would expect to have in a game. Actual NPCs, actual people that would react, give you quests, different things. For the most part, this game, Obduction, was just built around the idea of, what would you call it even? It was built around the idea of breaking 7 signs, and that's kind of it. And see, I'd worked kind of hard to try to put everything back where it belonged, or where it originally was. However, this one you can't actually put back. Well, maybe you can, but at that point it seemed like it was an unimportant thing. Be real nice if you just had the ability to jump after you beat the game, as some kind of option. So I'm trying now to figure out what would be the best and most efficient way to get to the tree. Guess this is a pretty efficient way to get to the tree. And moving pretty fast through all of this. Interesting, this looks like a different symbol than what may have been here before. It's been a long enough time, however, that I could have just mistaken things. Like, misremembered elements. I'm not seeing any major changes. I guess, in a weird way, you can't really change too much. Also, like, it has to be some pretty end-game content, otherwise it gets in the way of the game flow that they intended. Now, in the remasters and re-releases of Myst, I think the remasters, they did add an end section to the first game that was very much at the end of the game. So here's the beginning of the game. Nothing here. With all the varieties of different worlds and that the Myst series and Obduction have covered, I would also hope that Firmament went in a very different direction. Like, embrace urban, embrace cyberpunk, embrace sci-fi, embrace something that is not simplistic and a little bit country and empty. I know that a lot of the reason why things are empty for this game and the previous game is because you didn't want to wander around looking at too many random things and think that there might be an important element or item. Certainly when we ran into this room and saw these dream weavers and these elements, that was something that I considered, is like how many of these things that we're looking at are important and how many of these things aren't. Maybe that is one of the few tests that they learned from by making Obductions, is that they could make a more modern game with more variety, with just random elements, which of course programming random elements is not the cheapest way to construct things. Let's see, I doubt that there's anything new up here. But they certainly did say that there was some new areas to run around. It would be odd if we got to the tree and found that the tree has a new section. This section you still can't cross. This section is nothing. I meant to mention it too. If you're watching this video, I did find something new, something worth showing, because I don't think I'm going to post this video, or I will apologize profusely if I do post this video and we don't, there's nothing new from the beta. There kind of needed to be more of an underwater section where you actually went underwater. I guess that was something we missed. And let's see if this brings up anything new. So he's just telling us what we're supposed to do for the main game. And I seriously doubt I would have to play the credits and beat the game to unlock new content. But maybe. So this is the biggest island we've been on. The biggest, well, I guess you don't call it islands in this instance, but worlds. Let's see if there's a load sequence. Yep, still that load sequence, but maybe a little bit faster. Maybe when they get to 2.0, they can get some of the hitching. A little odd, this game by default put me on epic graphic settings. I would sort of argue with it that my graphics card, the GTX 970, is not epic. It should probably be good. See, there's no way to jump out of this and like jump into space. Now the red one, if I was to guess, is going to end up putting us on the sort of bad guys planet, which that's what this is. If there was anywhere that needed more content, this would have been it. This crystalline world where the entire place had been blown up. They had created, the other species had created a bomb and basically nuked the world. You know, this game would have done nicely to have a creature, which they did have a few creatures, but if they had like a hide and go seek style creature that that was running around and would be programmed to just be on the edge of your vision, where you see them right in front of you and then you have to chase. So like, here's the big reveal. If you don't come to this point, you very easily make the wrong decision. It also, like, seems like there is less fog now, so you can kind of see why you wouldn't be able to walk to the edge of this world and magically transition to the other side, other edge, like you can on all the other worlds. Although that's pretty limited. The walk speed is still incredibly slow. And we've, like, this blown up world would have been the place to put something new. Here's the central place where the explosion happened. It's not an entire planet, to be fair. They only blew up the small section of the alien planet that had been brought in by some other alien group together for not directly known reasons. There's just a lot of assumptions. Let's see, I could try to take this back and put it back in its proper place. I suppose might as well. Let's see. Switch and press. Press when lit. And then it kind of immediately shows a loading screen now instead of showing this action. That's a little crazy. It looks like loading has actually gotten worse since the beta. Well, it certainly feels worse now because they've given you this opportunity to recognize and know that loading is happening with that scene, instead of that being a hidden transition, or at least marginally hidden behind the animation. I didn't think I'd be able to get back over here. And what's in this cave? It's just the gauntlet puzzle piece and some other gauntlet elements. I guess there might be something new here. Let's see. This one, this shell within a shell. Interesting. I don't even remember that. Or maybe this one. Like, those are in the right place. Like, you can't jump down. And there's nothing here. I'm not 100% sure this will actually get me to where I need to be. So I may very well have to switch back. Oh, do I not like that loading screen? I do not like them showing that. That was not an improvement. Interesting. What's with the green now? Like, it was showing kind of this green thing, and now it's not. Let's see, how far can we really get? In the gauntlet without driving ourselves crazy. The danger with trying to look for new content in a game like this is the fact that since Myst was this cryptic game, they could very easily have something cryptically hidden to the point where they may have made it where I'd have to run around the entire world for an extra 5 to 10 hours to find that secret, if there is any secret to really be found. Let's see, can we get in this? And we'll see. I believe last time I tried this, it bounced me back and left us in a awkward position. This is one of the kind of the only movement mechanisms. Well, I guess you also get on the chain controlled platforms in the other world. Am I really gonna make it all the way through? This world is somewhat linear, or more linear. There's no controls or anything. So yeah. Whatever I did to close this door, whatever I did that closed this door that keeps you away from, I believe that's the location where you would see all the people frozen in stasis. I don't feel like the moral dilemma is played as well. To be fair, in Myst 1, it's not played that well too. You have two brothers that you really don't know anything about or really care about, each begging you to free them and not free the other brother. And you make your decision. And it's kind of very heavy-handed because one character acts completely insane and the other acts only moderately evil but not insane. And since it's a video game, who really cares to see who's telling the truth? So they tried to do it bigger and bolder this time. I feel like there needed, if it was somebody besides Cyan, you wouldn't just be this random person who got abducted and ended up on this planet. You'd be someone who lived on this planet, had all of their lifetime, and knew the people that were at risk. Apparently this is just a doorway to open some other doors. Nothing's jumping out, however. Nothing's screaming, this is new content, this is worth your time, this is something you really would want to come back and play Obduction for. For me, the ending was the ending. It was a fine game. I hope Firmament does something a little bit different in a lot of different ways. There's some problems with Cyan just trying to catch lightning in the bottle over and over again. They needed to move forward. Like I said, set it in a heavily populated urban environment. Embrace some sci-fi. Embrace like cyberpunk. Something that they haven't heavily done. Sure, you have alien technology here, but that doesn't fully fulfill my desires to have a better experience and a different experience. It might very easily just boil down to the Miller brothers need to take a back seat and let somebody else write the story. Let them do the puzzle. Let the Miller brothers do some puzzles. They're good at making puzzles, but let somebody else tell the story. And there certainly was some of that. Much more, I would say, than most video game companies. Cyan, in their step up to actually have a next generation of programmers and people who actually can take the company forward as the Miller brothers are getting older and older. They have hired that second generation, and they're hiring new people, and those new people don't seem like they're just there to be low-level lackeys that push the same ideas that they've always pushed. You might very well argue that Obduction is what Myst would have been in modern times, 2017, left alone to their own devices, with the Miller twins left alone to their own devices. And the argument, I think, should be made that they shouldn't be left to their own devices. It's now a more modern way of making games with more people involved and more programming. And see, this jumps, but it seems like they've sped that process up a little bit, so it cuts on and cuts off a little quicker. Not really seeing anything here. I'm seeing longer load times, and the one room that we already knew was in the beta, so maybe it wasn't in the main game. Either that, or I've just failed to see something else. There's too much walking in this game, not enough interaction with characters. I kind of would like a familiar grind. I'd like some enemies. I'd like the ability to punch something. I have been kind of critical lately of games always having a gameplay mechanic with violence, but on the other hand, I'd prefer to have some light violence over just emptiness, empty buildings. And there's nothing on the save file like the game The Witness, where like the Witness could have helped you quite a bit. There's actually two major indicators that tell you this is how far you've gotten, or at the very least it tells you that you've made some progress towards unlocking something more. And where The Witness had almost no actual story, Obduction has not enough. I wouldn't say no. Not enough gameplay. So if they could get the two teams together, that would be interesting. And it's even a little possible, as the creators of The Witness have decided to do a grant that it's kind of a weird grant. It's only for games that have puzzles on a board, if you want a grant for that. And it's only for people who they consider some form of less than privileged, which is a way nicer way to say it included every single person that could be described except for a cis white male. Which, I mean, seemed just kind of exclusionary at that point. And it certainly was a grant that didn't seem like any lawyers had ever looked at it. So we were already at that place. Blue, I guess, would be the other location, because this is an orange world too. Have we been to an orange world? Or is the orange world just gonna take us back to the desert? If I was playing this right when I was playing this game, I would remember what these colors were supposed to represent. Ah, yes. This is the orange world. So we've seen the orange world, we've seen the red world, we've seen the green world. The only world that seems like there would have any opportunity to have anything new in it would be the blue world. Let's see, green world. And it's totally possible that there's some secret somewhere that I'm missing. It was totally possible that there was some secret I was missing at the beginning of the at the end of the game. But yeah, I don't know. The thing I'm not finding here is a blatantly obvious way to travel to Myst Island using the like using this engine. And that's kind of in the back of my head what I thought might be the instance, is for them to pull out that old chestnut once again and show us what Myst would look like in the current, just as an Easter egg. I mean, they certainly did it many times. They did it in Myst 5 at least. Seems like these guys are running a bit smoother. Here is the bomb they set off, killing these aliens. And see, this was like a pressure plate switch where you were, it was designed to shut off as soon as the person disappeared, or as soon as the person stepped off the thing, or perhaps it was that these aliens were so light they couldn't trigger it. It really does seem like the aliens that you side with, the humans, were potentially as aggressive, if not the aggressors, in this scenario. See, I can't even get back to where I'd want to be. Well, this looks like this is just going to be looking at 1.7, and I'm a little bit uncertain I even want to bother to put out this content because it's nothing new. It runs a little bit smoother in some places. It makes an unfortunate choice to show you the load screen in some places when you transition, which I wouldn't have done that. If we go back to the orange world, I can try and transfer over. I just gotta figure out which one's orange. There it is. Then back up the stairs. Yeah, showing these load sections, not great. There's some video settings like how much memory to use, and it's 25% of video memory to 75% of video memory. It's a little confusing, as I don't fully understand why you wouldn't want to use 100% of the video memory if you can. But I let it auto detect, and it seems like they opted for better graphics over a slightly smoother game. But I guess the question is, will I be able to cross this path? Nope. So that was a waste. This is a new place. So we've got to find the cart. And I think I know where the cart is. Wow. Took us about 45 minutes to find it, but I finally did find it. So it's on the tracks that we've seen one place that could be unlocked. So there may very well be another place on the tracks where something could be unlocked, so we're gonna keep a keen eye out. I guess I was really stupid not to choose this. Yeah, this is new too. Yeah, I should have done this first before anything else, because the main gameplay mechanic of this game is this. It's riding in the cart and shooting things to dissolve things. This is also a interesting confirmation that the number of projectors and displays didn't really matter. It looks like this is a shortcut that's been added. I believe also there was somewhere in this house a map of all the projectors. Well, let's see. Maybe I could find it. Let's just go look at the settings. Nope. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want the credits. Settings. Back. Settings. On Xbox controller. Cursor mode locked. Input sensitivity is a little sluggish, so I'm gonna increase it and go back. So we've got these photos. Did I have a photo? It's still pretty impossible to look at these photos. I like to hover over them, and guess we could just now go through it like this. Was this always an option? I'm pretty sure I found a map that told me here's a photo of that floating thing, so that wasn't new. It told me where all the projector locations were. These are all spoilers for the game, clearly. See, I don't think I can get back to that spaceship at this point in the game. I also kind of wonder, maybe I would have to have played the game from scratch to find some of this stuff. But maybe, maybe not. We took a bunch of photos of that room. Bunch of photos of things that we thought would be helpful. Or, I guess maybe that... See, my memory is so poor. Everything I think might have been new is not new. I never did really learn this system. I just figured out a way to cheat it for the most part. I do have that game Manhole, which was the first game that they ever made. No real time on when I'm going to get around to actually playing it as a point-and-click adventure. It was made, I don't think, by Cyan. It was made by the Miller Brothers' previous company, or maybe it was made by Cyan, but it's a very unknown kids game. All the numbers, none of these numbers seem to matter at all, so it would be nice if these new sections, here we go. No, that's just a power grid listing. Well, no, I've gone through all the photos and it doesn't seem like there is any doesn't seem like there is anything. Sensitivity seems to have also sped up the run, which that's interesting, I suppose. Alright. I'm pretty sure we just left it sitting over here. Yep. So in we go. And now that I have the cursor on, I think we can do this a lot easier. Alright, now when we go forward, we turn. Interesting, I'm not really hearing any sounds. And like, regardless of how I'm trying to pull this, it's not working. Oh, you have to pull it with the right stick, which that doesn't work at all, because then my whole system doesn't work. Let's see. Nope, 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 nope. Can't have the screen on. Seems like they've smoothed this out quite a bit, but then lost the track sound. And that's kind of a shame. I'm hoping I'll be pointed the right direction. Because if I'm not, this is going to be a nightmare. Alright, right stick I suppose with my left hand. Puts me back this way. Going through this track. Which, let's see if we can hit this at the moment. And just, we've got this laser beam. And I believe we've shut it down, so let's see. We can just exit. Let's see what's in this new area. It says open. And it's like a distillery. And the Nightopia is this Amelia Earhart's plane. So they're doing the Amelia Earhart reference. It's a bar. Interesting. Let's see. I don't particularly agree with the iterative idea in making games like this. Like, it feels a little wrong for them to add content and add elements that just people might not see. Like, a lot of people are gonna play a lot of people have played Obduction already, and they are now missing out on all of this because it's just not what is this supposed to be? The moon? Let's see. You can take a snapshot, but there's no real zooming in. All the squares at the bottom are the confusing part. Like, if I was to say this was a map of where we are, okay, that's fair. If I was to say the biggest dot at the top right is one of the swapper positions, okay, that's fine. If I was to say the 3 square items or something, maybe? Like, now it feels like there's more puzzle here. And this is just not the way to do your game. And it's not the way to run your company. As somebody who doesn't run a video game company and really doesn't know what they're talking about, probably, it doesn't strike me, however, to be the right thing to do, to have your team work on the old projects and add content. You work on the old project, sure, and you get rid of some bugs, you make it smoother, you make it be a better experience, but you don't fundamentally add content. And there is the whole developmental process of alpha, which is you're still adding features, beta, which means you are no longer adding content or features, and bug fixing, and then general release. If you want to do a 2.0 version of a program, that is normally okay, but I would kind of heavily argue against it in the cases of video games. Like, unlike, say, a spreadsheet program where adding new features would be appreciated, or changing out the interface to look a little bit more modern might be appreciated. Uh, that's it's just gonna go unnoticed for so many of the people that played this game. I imagine we kind of know where the other places are, and there may just be 2 places in total, and I'm just crossing my fingers that this guy will be facing the right direction in some way, that I can get this to line up. Let's see what happens if we go down this direction and wrap around. That seems like that's okay. And they didn't really fix all the bugs in the game. I don't see anything standing out, but that's an interesting thought in itself. Would I see things standing out? Or would I not? And just going down the same pathway twice, there might be a new section in the blue world. See, this will just take me back that way, so I gotta switch tracks. Get a little closer. Use the right stick. And the controls are still awkward, but it's nice that it does have controller support. I don't think any game so heavily needs to be like mouse and keyboard based these days. These locations feel like they were intentionally going to have something in them before, so I don't, but why not just leave it alone? Like, the game is what it is. Abduction's an alright game, and a nice snack between so here we have like a Russian radiation. It's like it's a nice snack between the last Cyan game, which I guess would have been Myst 5, or a remaster of one of the Myst games, and I guess Firmament now. It doesn't really stand up to the Myst series. I'm not sure anything ever would, but it's a giant nuclear submarine. Which I guess maybe there's a Russian tale of a missing Russian submarine. Let's see. This just seems to be a parts log. And all these books only open to one page, which is both a blessing and a curse. Like, honestly, it shouldn't have been. You should be able to read everything in the books, but also I don't want this to turn into a Skyrim-esque game full of all kinds of book logs and use all these missile tubes with wires coming out of it, so you kind of know where the power is coming from. And I assume this is where what's his name is working. Drawing power. But only a portion of the submarine seems to have made it. And I would have much preferred to have an abduction too and show these elements. You see that, I suppose. Cyan doesn't know how to let go. There's this concept of, pause now if you want to read this, of killing your babies in art creation, where you have an idea, you pitch it, if it doesn't work, if people don't agree with it, you just move on to the next thing. I think games for Cyan become their babies. Myst most definitely was their baby, and they continuously tried to have more Myst. And Riven is just not as good as Myst is. And Myst 3 is just not as good as Riven is. So, yeah, this is just kind of a circle. There's no swapping taking place here. And I assume the idea is maybe to get up here. Like, this is the doorbell. And so when you saw the doorbell, and here's like a real missile. I can't believe people are getting paid to animate all this stuff still. It's not going to equal extra sales. That's the real issue. And nobody ever was able to build a new swapping device in any of these locations, I guess. And for that reason, I guess, so just a couple of extra areas. There's one potential place, since we found these extra areas, that might be new. Everything else is the same. And I seriously doubt that if I was to ring the doorbell and then try and run and catch up with that guy, that would work. Alright, so we've got to go in this little cave and swap to the world doing this. Pull and push. And the load seems like it gets halfway and then it kind of just stops. And I was half wondering if it was an actual load sequence or if this was just timer based. Alright. So we gotta really play with this one. Just like the screen is not showing me anything. So if I'm hitting something, I don't know. If I'm not hitting something, I don't know. That was what we had already hit. Yeah, that doesn't strike me as as useful. Good news is we can walk on the other side of this swapper and get to that area and look around a little bit. But honestly, I doubt there's anything else new. Far too much of this game was built around this idea of the gun on tracks. That I wouldn't be surprised if you were just going to do a simplistic continuation of this concept. I wouldn't be surprised if you had the next game be a gun in your hand, on your arm, whatever. Something that you can use and carry everywhere to shoot. However, one would hope Cyan would do something very, very different, which is what they said Obduction was to Myst, and sorta, kinda. Like, a lot of this looks like the ages of some of the ages of Myst. A lot of it looks too familiar to call it some kind of pure brand new concept. And one assumes things like this swap section, that there won't be any new swaps. Let's see, going up these stairs could prove to be a very poor choice. Yeah, I don't know what you get by adding a bar and a submarine section. Unless there's something I've missed there and there actually is a puzzle, which I bet there isn't. It seems crazy. Now, I believe this was bugged in the beta, so this might be a little less bugged now to unlock the Easter eggs for whatever that's worth. Maybe we have got some more alien bugs flying around on this screen. I don't think there's a real reason to travel anywhere. If this was the one location where there might have been something new. And let's see, to get down to that, I would have to be down there in the first place and get back up. I don't think there's a way to call that elevator. It's not the coolest of ideas either to... I guess you couldn't just have a new path in the game, because too many people would have been so familiar with the game that any new paths would have been obvious or not looked for. Like, if they had just carved up a doorway here, a lot of players would have walked past that and seen there was no doorway in the previous version so many times that wouldn't make sense to them to even test and try that out. So yeah, there kind of can't be anything, can there? Each of these areas in these motorized sections still incredibly slow, but they seem maybe a little sped up, a little bit more polished. Playing 1.7 for the first time, if this was your experience, would be overall a better experience. But 1.7 also is dangerously to 2.0. Are we gonna get potentially 3 extra additions that just add small, nearly insignificant bits of content, and then there will be a 2.0 version that is twice as long of a game. I don't think I could really stand for that. Frankly, I think Obduction was a fine length in the first place, so like adding even the small amount of content that they did has only muddied the water a little bit more. And my poor system of trying to put everything back to where it was. We did see this picture, and the picture probably is some kind of Easter egg, but I don't believe that it unlocks anything significant. I really would have a hard time believing you'll end up on Myst Island, which would have been the #1 expected thing. I have a hard time believing that you'll end up doing anything really. I would have hoped that the Myst book really did work, and that there was some way to turn it on. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. That would have been the main thing. There's no hints here about firmament. Perhaps firmament is a name designed to throw people off. It certainly could be that. It could be that it's a planet, it's a world set in an ocean planet, so that there's actually no dirt at all. That would be very interesting. Do something sort of like a Subnautica style game, which I guess with the recent popularity of Subnautica, that might bite into Cyan's plans. Open this door. Let's see. The only thing I could consider is if this Myst book, let's see, you gotta hit it, and like there's like a battery and a computer and what looks like a memory card, an old memory card. And there's no way it seems to open this book the right way. I'm just holding down the button and then moving the right stick just to see if anything would happen. That's where I would have thought this would have ended. Let's see. Cerberus Beowulf. I didn't know you could spin things. Well, you can't spin that one. Yep. So if we look at the photo, and the most recent photo, boy is that dark. And they totally took the HDR stuff out. Let's see. It's the squares at the bottom. If those were supposed to be the buildings around the train yard and the junkyard, then yeah, I just don't know. I have no idea what this is supposed to be. If it's a hint to something in the next game or what. I wish people could tell me in this chat. But we kind of... Let's see. And it just quit to the exit. Well, that's gonna be it for this recording. Maybe not the best idea to go back and play games if they have new content added, because it's not something that ever really seems like it's too much. Now, I draw the line when they add actual DLC, but this is a free edition that seems to add just a couple of teaser things. I hope Cyan is working hard on Firmament and working hard to remaster and re-release the Myst collection. They're selling a fancy limited edition box that I think I'll probably try and get, which is unique for me, certainly. That's it for this, I guess, additional episode. Sorry it took so long to see actual new content, but I guess that's the breaks. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.